Good morning, everybody. I think if folks out in the lobby can hear me, we're going to get going here pretty quick. So I'm gonna pray and then we'll get going, okay? So Father in heaven, I'm thankful to be with friends and family here. We're thankful for your grace this morning, mercy that's new every morning. We're thankful, Lord, for the sunshine. We really need it today, and it's a gift. Thank you for Jesus Christ. Thank you for the gospel. Thank you for the mission you've given us. We ask for you to give us faithfulness and wisdom as we continue to pursue your mission for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All righty. Well, as we get going, I want to give you a quick overview of where we're heading today. I'm going to give an update on our Growing Together process. Nominating committee, Hank is going to be giving a presentation on that. That'll include things about deacons, elders, etc. And then Greg will come up for the finance update, and then Mike Houts is going to talk about safety response. So that's where we're heading. We'll take a break after each presentation for questions, and so we will welcome that. I'll probably run around a mic to you when we get to that point. For folks who are online, thank you for joining us. For folks joining later, we're glad that you're tuning in. Thank you for staying up to date on stuff that's going on. Alrighty, so here we are, growing together. I wanted, as we get going and we think about all this stuff, I wanted to talk about why we're doing this and just remind us why. So whenever I was in process of looking for a call that led me to come here, I was pastor of a church in Southern Illinois. It was during COVID, and it was a really hard season. It was really hard. And Christina and I were just looking at, Lord, what do you want us to do? You know, I could sell insurance and be a faithful Christian man. I could be a teacher. I've got a teaching degree. But I felt called to be a pastor. I had mentors and people who were helping me out with that, and I found deep pleasure and have a sense of calling in the things of ministry. But we weren't just going to go anywhere, though we felt that our time there at Trinity and Sparta was coming to a close. So I applied at 2 places in total. The first one, I had an interview, and when you're doing an interview, they ask you questions, and then they usually give you a chance to ask a question or two. The question I asked them was, tell me about a time that you experienced God in your church community. And the people on the search committee looked at me. There was a mixture of crickets, and the search chair actually his eyes turned red. You could tell he was about to cry. And he said, Dave, I don't know that I have any memory of experiencing God at this church. And that's when I knew I can't bring my family there. I just wasn't ready for that, and we weren't at a place where we wanted that. When I talked to the search committee here at Faith, I asked the same question, and I'm hearing from Rebecca Baumeister, and I'm hearing from Steve Zaring, and I'm hearing from Susie Tomolino, and I'm hearing from Lee Johnson, Rich Johnson, all these dear souls of rich moments, Chris Alsum, when they've experienced God. And so I thought, okay, the door's still open here. And God was kind to keep it open and bring me. Why am I bringing that up? Because my desire as a pastor is that the next generation would experience God at Faith Church. So Psalm 48 says, near the end of the song, and this is a song sung by the people of God, they would say to one another, walk about Zion, go around her, number her towers. And you could envision being in Jerusalem as they're singing this psalm. Walk about Zion, go around her, number her towers, consider well her ramparts, go through her citadels, that you may tell the next generation that this is God, our God forever and ever. He will guide us forever. This psalm is saying that as they would consider the place where they were worshiping, they would remember God who had met them there. And that's what I'm longing for, is that we would have a heritage, a testimony, that this place would be a place where people meet and experience God. And so that's what we're longing for. That's what is going on when we're talking about growing together. We're longing that Christ would build us together into a dwelling place for God by the Spirit in an intergenerationally impactful way. It's not about a building, it's about what God is building. You've heard me talk about this stuff. We've been going through a long process of trying to figure out how we can be most effective with limited resources. And I tell you, we feel that we are going at a hard and fast pace right now. Come on in, Linda. You're not interrupted. We're going at a hard and fast pace into this new year. But I think we're focusing on the best things as we understand them. And how do we eliminate any hindrances? Specifically, we've been talking about facilities. I'm not going to go through all these slides in depth. We've been going through a multi-year process to get where we are today. And we've heard from you that we need to we need to address these areas of hindrance. So if you're, if you haven't been around, then you may not have heard me say that accessibility is a really key need for us in terms of our ongoing mission viability here in this facility. We have the hill, of course. We have stairs that are an issue. That's something that I'll mention briefly. We have all the multi-level issues. Children's ministry space. You've heard me talk about walking around the dumpster outside in January. Welcome to January. And if you're a new mom, that's not a great look. Aesthetics. There's need both for how do we want to present to our community such that we are as attractive as possible. That's a good question to ask. God loves beauty. It's glorifying to God. But there's also really practical things like signage that we need to address to make our space more navigable. And then gathering spaces, having places where people would like to be. That would enhance our ministry and mission because we would be a place that draws people, a place where people will experience God together because they want to be here together. And there's a lot more hours in the week than Sunday morning, so we could create more spaces and opportunities. So we have gone through a long process, and if you've already heard this, then bear with me. If you haven't heard it yet, this is for you. If you're watching online, you haven't heard it yet, this is for you. But we have gone through a lot of dialogue about how best to address these issues and create a plan that's feasible for our abilities as a congregation. We're trying to put our thumb in the wind with the help of some consultants to say, how much could we raise? What kind of a budget could we have? And what would be the most effective ways to address the hindrances we have within that budget? And so after looking at all sorts of different possibilities, and you could go back, Jerry probably has the best notes on this. We could go back and share all the different iterations, but this is what we've landed upon, is a site plan that will essentially build onto this building to address most of those issues in our first go at addressing them. Just so you are orienting, so this is Wilson Avenue out here. North is over here to the left. So Wilson Avenue is up here. North is to the left. And the building right here is where you are, okay? So that is what we are going to be focusing on, is building onto that and renovating that in order to meet needs for this coming phase. You can see that just put some labels on it. Main building, new lobby, Hall of Faith. You can notice a pink thing between the buildings. That's something we've given a lot of conversation about. And depending on what we hear from you and what we raise, we may address some issues there to some extent, but that's not going to be the focus at this stage. There are major accessibility issues that we have out this door. And connecting the building would be a great solution. It's a very expensive solution, and it could affect our ability to do the things that we think are even more important and more strategic moving forward. So you won't see a lot of detail on this at this point. We are waiting to see what God provides and what we raise. But what we are going to address, I want to show you, is a new lobby. So this is walking out the door and looking over here, okay? So imagine a much larger lobby. I'm asking you to imagine, and then I'll show you a rendering in a moment. So think in 2D with me, and then we'll get a chance to think in 3D in a moment. You're walking out the sanctuary. If you turned right, you're looking down a level, so 4 or 5 feet, you're looking down. to basically the parking lot level. So I'm going to go back for a moment. This is the level of this. So the far parking lot, you know how there's a stairwell coming up? That hill is gone in this plan. This is a big win. The hill is gone. And now you are walking in at that parking lot level, and it creates a split level entrance. So you're walking in these doors, and you have all sorts of accessibility options to walk up to this level. And so you've got stairs, of course, but you've also got ramps. So you've got stairs, you've got ramps. You've also got an elevator. And so this would give you access to every level: the garden level, where the children's ministry is, the new lobby, the sanctuary level that we're on right now, and also the staff office level. So this elevator would service all of those levels. So this would address significantly our accessibility issues in one fell swoop, in a very significant way. Another thing just to think about, just beauty-wise, this is going to be a big open room. And imagine looking out over a balcony. If you're right here, looking out over that stairwell, it's going to create a sense of a place where you'd like to be, a beautiful space. I shared earlier when I first presented this that I would love to see the men's Bible study that we're starting on February 4th, which I would love to see men there. February 4th at 6:30 a.m. I know 6:30 is everyone's favorite time, but it's a time that men are not taking away from anyone else in their life, Lord willing. So they can be there together without taking away from other priorities. But I would love to have a group of men in there just blowing off the roof, singing hymns to the Lord, and studying the scriptures around the fireplace right there. It's going to be wonderful. There will also be, just in terms of space, just to envision, I imagine a lot of natural light coming through here and also into this space, because this would be overlooking a balcony over into this space as well. So think overlook in all of those spots. So you've got overlook. There would be a wall here, of course, for the elevator where that's enclosed, but the rest of this high ceiling, what do you think, 16, 18 feet, Jerry? So a nice high ceiling there. Also handicap accessible doors. This is one more facet that I wanted to mention. Okay, when we first presented this, and it also creates an accessible option down interior to children's ministry, which is humongous for us. When we first presented this, just for this box, essentially, we were looking at $6.4 million back in September. We looked with a new team, and we've gotten that down to $4.15 million. That is significant. God was very kind to us and the team that he's brought together and the hard work that our team has done to work through how we can get there. This is a rendering Kylie Green did for us of the exterior. So we lowered, if you remember, there was a much higher, I don't know what you would call this architectural feature. Atrium, much higher atrium that was right here. There's a lot of reasons why that adds cost. And so we can still have significant exterior aesthetic beauty with this solution, and that saved a lot of money in one fell swoop. But you're walking, again, straight from parking lot level in the doors, and that is a big win. Very visible from the street. This is a rendering where you are just looking in. If you don't like a blue rug, don't worry. We'll decide what color rug later, and you can... It could be a pool. Barbie wants a pool. We'll see about it. Okay, so this is just looking in. So to your back would be those ramps, maybe even a closet for storing some tables and chairs that's not on this picture. Over here, we'll have a coffee bar area, fireplace. So in this vision, there might be a patio out here. We're actually thinking about what we can do to the current stairs that are there. So we're still negotiating that. I remember on September 14th, I said we're way up here. Now we're closer to here, I would say. in terms of details, but we still have all sorts of on-the-ground details we're going to walk through. And again, what's going to determine a lot of these things is what we raise. So the primaries are the things that we are going to aim for: addressing accessibility, creating the children's ministry space entrance and making that excellent, the gathering spaces, and the aesthetic, just doing the things we do well. But as far as some of the things on the edges of the project, we won't know that until we raise the funds. Just really quick, I want to go over, there's going to be an entrance to children's ministry. We are now on the garden level. We are on the level that's beneath us. How many of you have been downstairs before? Okay, most of you have been downstairs. If you haven't, we could walk around later. I'd be happy to walk around with you. So this will create an entrance. So we're coming off of this lobby, down these stairs or down this elevator. And you're coming into a new lobby. And there will be something like a mama cave. We talked to some of our moms, and they would appreciate having a mom's area that's close to where the babies and kids are, and a comfortable place where they could live stream. They could be watching the service, and they could do it together, but it would just be in the safety of just being with other moms. So it would be a mom's only room. And there would be a desk or something like here where we would check in the kids, and there'd be the kiosks for checking in the kids, etc. So that's what we would be doing. We have more hopes to do more here, but you know what it depends on? What we raise. That's right. It depends on what we are able to raise. So there are certainly more things we'd like to do. This is the essential thing that we know we want to do. That's about $490,000, so about $500,000 onto the project cost right there. So that's just a rendering. If you're kind of looking through the wall of the mama cave in this picture. But that gives you a sense. You've walked down the stairs, you've come down the elevator. There's a check-in kiosk. We probably would need more. There's also a family restroom here, which we would put in as something that's helpful. I didn't mention upstairs there would also be renovation to this level that would expand and renovate the restrooms and put in a family restroom. That's pretty significant. Upstairs, this is going to be something that I just want to acknowledge. By virtue of expanding the bathrooms downstairs, we will move offices upstairs. We'll have to put a volunteer or some sort of desk out here to greet people during the week. So office space will become something that we have to look at, but that's a problem we're willing to take on together. We'll have to creatively rearrange upstairs, but the elevator will create a new entrance upstairs. We'll likely have office staff in one of these offices and a workroom space that's right there, but we'll just have to tighten up. From what I understand, our offices are pretty big compared to what most office spaces really have. So I think there is quite a bit of room for us to squeeze and still be welcoming, efficient, and all the things that we need to be as a staff. At some point, we will probably need some more space because we do value our staff being together. That's worth more conversation, but I'm just going to leave that there. That is the staff level. Estimated costs if we were to do the children's ministry space and the foyer addition, about 4.6. So that is where our rough goal is. We have a contractor team and an architect who feel confident. We have our financial consultant who say they've listened to you all, and we've been listening to you all. We're going to keep listening to you all, and you all have expressed strong support. Strong support. Good questions, yes. But those questions come out of a place of strong support and readiness. And I believe we've already raised a significant amount. I'll let Greg talk about that. So where are we now? We were in this pre-campaign assessment phase that started back on September 14th after the first Vision Sunday. And then we've been walking through, listening to people, sharing the vision, and our campaign consultants were going to give us a green light, yellow light, red light. They gave us a green light. Our session has voted to move forward. We are on board moving forward with the next phases. And so where we are now is we are going to seek to raise funds for this project. And so we're in what's called a capital campaign. And I wanted to share about my heart for that. As we walk into a capital campaign phase, I think there's different feelings that we will have. Some of us will feel nervous. Some of us will feel grossed out. I've heard that from a few people, like specifically. I just think they're gross. And so I've gotten to listen and hear that. That's good feedback for a pastor to hear. So what is my heart? My heart is that we move forward in faith. The first thing that I think that we can say is that we can trust God, who owns all the resources in the world and who has been incredibly kind to us throughout our history as a church. He has provided everything we've needed, every step of the way. I don't believe that that's going to change. Secondly, we have a generous church, and so I think that we can have some measure of faith that what God has done through us in the past, I'm excited to see what he'll do again. And so with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to simply set the vision, share what we're doing and why, and we're going to make the needs clear in terms of what we're inviting you to give. We're going to be asking, and then we're going to invite you to act and say, hey, here's an opportunity. Here's how to give. Give time, give resources. And so the capital campaign period will last about 3-4 months. From February to May will be the time period that the earnest capital campaign will last, but we will be taking gifts and pledges for 3 years. So that's the timeline of where we will be receiving funds. Some people will give one time, some people will give ongoingly, some people will give creatively in different ways. One point to that, as far as giving in different ways, is time is going to be a big thing that we're asking for people. And so if you are a person who could contribute time, that is a huge gift to us. We have currently about $30,000 a year that we pay for cleaning. So that may sound high, but that's just the cost of cleaning facilities like ours nowadays. So if we had teams that would contribute time and we could keep this space clean, we could generate $30,000 a year as a church together out of current budget that we could mobilize toward a project like the one we're talking about. If we have a team that will help with lawn care and the various grounds needs that we have throughout the year, $850 a month or about $6,000. So somewhere north of 30,000 we could be saving as a church. And depending on what we raise, that may be money that goes toward the project, that may be money that goes toward servicing debt or financing for a project. But that could be a significant gift. So there are ways to give beyond monetary that will be really significant and important for us as a church, and I'm excited to see how we step into that. So the first thing, just to recap, faith. We trust God. He's provided in the past. He'll provide again. We're going to set the vision. We're going to make the need clear. We're going to invite people to action. Second thing, though, integrity. We're not going to change who we are. We're not going to do high-pressure sales pitches. We're not going to lock the doors and wait until you give a certain amount of money. We're not going to do any of that nonsense because we trust God. We go back to step one. We trust God. He's going to provide for us. And so we're not going to manipulate you. Neither are we going to apologize, though, for calling you to action, for investing in something that we believe in. Investing in the next generation, experiencing God here in this place. I am not sorry to invite you to that. I'm excited to invite you to that. I'm thankful that I get to be a part of it. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do. So faith, integrity, and then focus. We're going to focus not just on the building. So we're going to focus on the opportunities for growth. Of course, we will have to talk about the building. We'll have to talk about nuts and bolts. There will be very important conversations around that. But this is a real opportunity for us to grow in faith. Jesus said so. Jesus said, where your treasure is, what did he say you'd find there? Your heart. And we're called to love the Lord with all of our heart. So there is some connection there with the way that we invest in God's kingdom. And investing in your church with your tithe, with your offerings, is a faithful expression throughout Christian history, throughout Scripture. We're just calling you to be disciples. And so I'm going to just try to walk with people, meet people where they are. There are some people who really giving has not been a part of their life. They're maybe cynical about it. They may be scared about it. They may be insecure about it. There may be any number of things. They may just not know. And so I hope to help people who have not yet started that journey to start a journey of faith in giving to the Lord and his kingdom. For folks who are infrequent or lackadaisical, I would love to help you take a step to become faithful and regular, having giving as a part of your life of discipleship. For folks who are seasoned givers, Greg is hoping to help you find creative ways, new ways to give, ways you might not have thought of before, so that you might be able to even give more, that your gift might even be more effective. And for everybody, just to take a step, some of the language you'll hear me say is, we will have all sorts of different kinds of gifts that we offer, but we are all called to equal sacrifice. We're all called to faith, to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the last thing I'll just say, and this goes back to the integrity part, there's no Bible verse that says that you have to contribute to the Faith Church Loveland capital campaign. Our campaign consultant didn't tell me to say that. But it's just a fact. There is no Bible verse that says that. And so if you decide that this just isn't something you feel called to contribute to, then I'm not going to guilt you about it. Because you know what? I believe God is going to be in this, and he's going to move us together as his people, and we're already seeing that you're excited and that we're just ready to go. So I'm just excited. Faith, integrity, focus on growth and discipleship. That's where we're heading. We'll be in this campaign process through May. Somewhere around that point, we'll be in a long design and planning sort of phase with our architect and city and permitting and all that stuff. 9 months or so, Jerry's said, is normal. Our architects have said. So sometime in 27, Lord willing, earlier than later, we're starting construction. And we're finishing that as soon as it's possible. That's where we're heading. Okay, so I'm asking you, whether you're online or whether you're here, I'm asking you to start praying. We're gonna launch this in earnest on February 15th, I guess, the week after our marriage conference. We will launch this opportunity for people to start giving and contributing and praying about this in a public way. But even now, for you who are here, start praying, Lord, how would you have me partner with my time and with my talents, and also with my treasure, with the investment that I can give. And we would like your feedback. So next week, we're going to do one more survey just before we get all this launched. That'll just go to the whole congregation. There will be a paper opportunity. There will be a digital opportunity. But that won't be the last time we're listening. We want to keep hearing from you. So come talk to us. And I say this because I mean it. If it's a question about vision, you can probably talk to me. If it's a question about nuts and bolts or anything technical, just talk to Jerry, because I'm not going to be as helpful. So you could talk to him or other folks that are going to be on that team. Should I share anything about the teams that we're starting? Well, I'll just give a blanket statement. We're going to be starting a number of different teams to help us as we walk through this season. And if we ask you to volunteer, please pray about it. Just know that these are teams that will only last, anywhere from 2 to 4 months. So that at least gives you a runway. I'm not going to have to do this forever. But even more, you get to be a part of our church taking a really important step together in our life of faith. So I'm really excited for what's coming. Steve Zaring is going to be chairing and leading our capital campaign team. So I'm really thankful for the work that he's committed to do. He is a treasure and a blessing. So I think that's probably enough. I've gone over my time. So what questions do we have? I will gladly run a mic out to you. Yes, Rich.
Thank you. I've seen the following question come before congregations I've been a part of before. So my question is, and I'll word it as clearly as I can, which of the following two thoughts is driving the train? Is the final design and cost with the pledge campaign to meet it, or we don't go forward? Or does the pledge campaign drive the project and whatever the pledge campaign is within the deadline, does it then determine any changes that might need to be made?
I'll try to answer, and then Jerry, fix anything that I break. So we have a certain amount of money, and we will have a certain amount of money, and we're not going to be able to build something that we can't pay for. So I would say in this process, we are building toward a vision, and I'm confident that God's going to provide for it. But if we come to the end of May and we, have only enough to do so much without putting our church in a place of compromising our mission, we're not going to put ourselves in a place where we have to take out so much financing that we can't do the thing that we exist to do. If we're having to cut missions, youth ministry, key things that we're doing together, we're just not going to make that kind of a choice. So I guess what I would say is we have a certain amount of savings that we will put toward this. We have an amount that we will raise together. We may take out financing. That will come down to a congregational vote. We would need, is it 2/3 congregational approval for any financing that we would take out? So that would be required. I don't know when we would be taking out financing. Would be it'd be later this year or early next year when we would be doing that.
So there'd be two phases of financing. There'd be a construction loan or a bridge loan, and then there'd be a mortgage. And there's a lot of discernment and discussion that's going to have to happen, but the congregation is the final approving authority per our bylaws on any borrowing by a 2/3 majority vote.
Yeah, Ms. Donna.
So I have two questions now. I thought I heard that they weren't going to go in debt for this at one of the meetings, that the church was not going to go in debt. Was that not something I heard at one point?
I don't know what you heard, but we did not say that.
Okay. The other is, you talked about using the Hall of Faith while you were doing this construction. Is that still what you're going to do?
We will probably have to do that to some extent, yes.
And you talked about, so that will cost about by the time you talked about media moves and buying chairs and stuff, talking $50,000 to $100,000. Is that going to come out of this project to that $50,000 to $100,000 cost, whatever it costs?
It would come out of current savings. We have enough savings to do all that.
Why would our savings be used for that when it is a project cost?
It's up to our session to oversee the use of funds that we currently have, and if we wanted to add it to the campaign, we could. It would take a lot longer to wait for pledges and campaign donations. We have money now that we could use, so that's why we would use money that we have now.
David, if I can speak to that, there's been a couple conversations around that. One idea that came forward through someone on our building team is we're working with a contractor that's very familiar with working with churches. So they know that churches need their properties on Sunday, and they're prepared to do as much as necessary to make everything available to us to a limit. One of the things that we've talked about doing is potentially building a temporary ramp on the north side here and using that as our main entrance while they're building over there so that we could continue to use this space for Sunday worship. Again, big question mark, but I love the creative thinking that might be a possibility. To the point of buying chairs, that's something that, I've been on staff 5 years, that's something that I've heard about regularly from leadership here, that they would love to replace the pews with chairs. One of the reasons for that is safety. Mike Houtz is going to speak to this just a little bit, but if we had a medical emergency in the center of these pews, it makes it very difficult for us to respond. Second, we have an issue with getting to these lights. That light right there that happens to light up our pastor burnt out on us already. We just replaced it a year and a half ago, which means we get to remove these pews again. They're not in great shape. So every time we pull one out, I question if it's going to go back in. I say this because if we were in the Hall of Faith, if we bought new chairs over there, we would do it with a nod that they're going to be used in this space when we're done. Does that answer your question, Donna?
Yes, that does. So the money that right now is a reserve for emergencies for the church, you have plans on using it in order to move, in order to do this project?
Yes and no.
So-
So the session controls how that money is used. So they've already set aside an operating reserve. They will discern how much money they're willing to let loose or contribute to a new construction project, and how much needs to be held back so that we can address things that were part of our reserve study, things that we know that may break through this process and aren't part of the repairs that'll happen because of the construction project.
Over here. Jerry.
Hi. My name is Gloria Elijah, and I have a question about the size of our new entrance. I was really shocked when I found out it was 4,000 square feet, which is larger than this sanctuary. Also, we're adding a lot of square footage on this main level by removing all the rooms that are on the south side and removing one or two of the rooms that are on the north side. That's a lot of square footage. Have we considered what the utility bills will be by adding that much square footage? And is it necessary that it be that large? Is that something that we might consider if the funds don't come in that you're hoping for?
Yeah, I'll speak to it, and then I'll let Jerry help me. So we have considered the size, and again, to aesthetics, it will be really a beautiful space, and I think the impact of being in a space like that is incredibly positive and the kind of thing that we would like people to experience here. So I do think there is a certain degree to which it's going to prove itself. The proof is in the pudding. The second thing that I would say is, as far as utilities cost, Lord willing, with higher efficiency systems, we will see some trade-off there. Yes, larger space, but Lord willing, higher efficiency. At the same time, yes, there probably will be some degree of a higher utility bill. I don't think that that's unreasonable to expect. And as far as the trade-off on size, at the end, we will have to make all sorts of trade-offs. But one thing that they have said, actually, Jerry, this is where you would be helpful to explain that sort of exponential change, that scale. Thank you.
So I think what David's referring to, as we change the square footage of a building, just envision a square building. The bigger it gets, the price per square foot drops. As it gets smaller, the price per square foot rises. So it's not a linear relationship, meaning, if it's $300 a square foot, we're going to knock off 500 square feet. It is not a linear relationship because you've got certain fixed costs of having the contractor show up, the permitting, on and on and on. So the smaller the building gets, the higher the price per square foot gets. To your first question, and this was an aha moment for me, it shouldn't be in today's world, but the ratios of spaces within a church are mathematical formulas these days. They will look at how many people attend. They will design a sanctuary if they were to build a church from scratch. And from that, they'll figure out how many parking spaces. From that, they'll say you need this many square feet in your children's ministry. From that, they'll say that you need this much space in your lobby. It is literally a mathematical formula. So with our current mathematical formula, that's the space that's been recommended. Now, I will admit that, yeah, as David has already said, there will be trade-offs as we start to figure out what is our budget and what is our priorities. So we're going to continue to be having these conversations with you guys collectively as a congregation, but also in small groups. We've started this with young families just recently. What are some things that are important, and what are some things that are nice to haves but not have to haves as we start having these discussions with the architects and trying to manage a budget?
Gloria, did we answer your question? Okay. Okay. Just before I hand it off, anybody else have a question? I want everyone to have a chance.
I think you may have already addressed this, but I was thinking when we start tearing apart this old building, I think you said something at a previous meeting, there were built-in costs to cover any unexpected things that you might come across. Is that so?
And Jenny, I'm sorry, I should have looked at the numbers before we had this meeting. I don't remember the amount that's built in, but there's two big buckets, if you will, of money that's in there. One is for inflation, and one is for unexpected costs, so that we don't come back every week and say, oh, the price went up again, price went up again. Could we exceed those? Potentially, but we have a reasonable set aside per the contractor that says this should cover most reasonable overruns in the number that you saw on the screen.
To the woman's question about utilities, the new systems can get up in the low 90s on efficiency. The older systems are 80% efficient. So the amount of savings is not going to be huge. The amount of increase will be that amount of space, which, like you say, is almost this building. The other thing is, yeah, my question is, in the project that was done and given to us in 23, it said that we really needed a structural and foundational study that they did not do, but it was redlined and it was at the top of the study. Before this was planned, was that study done to make sure we can connect to this building easily and that it will be structurally sound?
So Donna, a couple questions there. Connecting the buildings, as David said, is really not part of the project that we're presenting right now. That'll be for a future conversation. So there are a lot of issues, not structurally, but just code compliance of connecting this building that's sprinklered with that building that is not, and that is not part of our current project. What I think you're referring to is the reserve study, and there was a note in there that said the foundation of the Hall of Faith should be evaluated. It's not built on piers, it's built on spread footings, and for as long as I've attended here up until recently, I've been told, oh, we should have built it on piers. It would have been way better. We did have a structural engineer look at it. They did not do a soils test or whatever, but he did a visual evaluation of the property, and he's like, there's nothing wrong with this building. Matter of fact, spread footings are a better option for this, and that's what you should have used, and that's what we did use. So that is a licensed structural and civil engineer that looked at it.
And just a word on our team. So Eric Krug is on the team that's been helping with vision and design with our architect and contractors and so forth. Jerry has been on that team. Steve Zering has been on that team, and myself. So these are trustworthy people. If you have engineering kinds of questions, I would by all means bring them to them. There are no doubt things that we haven't thought of, but believe it or not, these guys are very competent people, and I'm very thankful for their leadership. And we've turned over a whole lot of stones. I'm sure we haven't turned over all of them yet, but we've turned over a whole lot of stones along this process. Okay. Well, friends, I'm going to keep us going because we still have more info for you at this info meeting. So next up is Hank. Oh, you want to use the clicker? Yeah. Here, just right or left? Right or left? Right is forward. And if you want to point at anybody, you can use the red button. But don't point at them because that could blind them.
Oh, really? Well, good morning again. My name is Hank Tritch, and I had the pleasure of chairing the nominating committee for this year, 2025. Definitely would like to thank the folks that have interviewed, selected, and brought to you the nominees for this coming year, 2026. So leaving John Bona, Joyce Falconer, Barb Jacobson, Justin Kudlak, Jeanette Mazingale, Linda Schoen, and I was the chair. So these are the people that are no longer going to be presented. One person that's not here is down in the lower corner, Mike South. He was the co-chair this year, so he wasn't in the last picture because he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay here. Here's your new nominating committee: Austin Popham, Debbie Lane, Gloria Johnston, MJ Morrell, Denny Jacobson, Nancy Jack, and again, Mike South. So this will be your nominating committee for this coming year. Absolutely. Next week, y'all will vote on these people. So the outgoing deacons, we have 3, Nancy and Chuck, Jack, they're in Florida right now, and Joe Schmidt will be leaving. The elder nominees for 2026, as Dave has pointed out, you'll vote on next week. Bruce Gray is a new nominee. Eric is currently serving, Ed is currently serving, as well as Ron Stoddard. They're both going for a second term. The elders are allowed 2 consecutive 3-year terms. And so this will be their second term. And then your deacon nominees, Sue, Kathy, Max is current. Sherry Copeland will be new. She works with me up on the slides, and she works with the safety team as well. Greta, I transposed the T and the A on Greta's name the first time, and she became Great Zaring, which of course she is. Marcia and Nancy. So that's it for me. So you all will vote next week, the 25th, and then assuming how you vote, if you vote these people in, they will be ordained and installed on the 1st of March. Thank you very much. Not as controversial as the last one.
Thanks, Hank. All right. And I don't have any slides. How about that? Well, good morning. I want to give a brief update on our year-to-date finances for the church. We're already a third of the way through our fiscal year. I don't know where time goes, but the Lord gives us the time we need. We better use it wisely. And I say this every time I give an update, and we don't want to underestimate it. We're a very healthy and financially strong church, so thank you very much. Dave has spoken to this a little bit already. We have created the Growing Together Fund to receive gifts for our upcoming building campaign. We've already received over $300,000 in gifts to that fund, and we had $200,000 in the Building Faith Fund, so together we have at least $500,000 already toward our upcoming building project, which is outstanding. Plus, the elders have discussed using some of our ministry reserve funds, which that amount is to be determined depending on how things go between now and when we actually start the program. But potentially we could be somewhere close to having a quarter of the funds toward that $4.6 million sort of ready to go when the time comes. But again, it depends on what happens between now and then. But again, we have at least $500,000 in gifts ready to go toward our goal. During the Advent season, we received over $9,000 to help support Lago Vista Neighbor, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, House of Neighborly Service, and Serve 6-8. So thank you for those gifts. And you also blessed the staff with about $23,000 in gifts to the Staff Bonus Fund. So thank you very much. That was shared among 14 employees on staff. And then giving to the general fund, which supports all of our ministries and our day-to-day operations here at the church. That's currently trending about 5 to 10% below budget year to date. So we are keeping an eye on that. If you read the monthly reports, which are posted on the bulletin board across from the restrooms, the average number of donors has dropped a bit over the last 12 to 18 months. And we know everyone's also excited about giving to the building program. So you'll hear us focusing a little bit more on our regular ministries to kind of balance things out. And we know that God's calling you to give where He wants you to give. So, and as always, I just want to thank you for your continued generosity. So thank you. Any questions on those updates? Okay, thanks. Mike House with the safety response team update. And the clicker is right here.
I was going to use this.
Podium mic available?
Podium mic okay? My name's Mike Houts, and I'm the Safety Response Team Coordinator. What's that? So what this is going to be is kind of an annual safety program briefing. Do this here. And basically I'm going to summarize our objectives, the structure, and specifics about just a few of our emergency procedures that you should know. I'll just read this through here and you can look at Faith Church does prioritize a safe environment for ministry and fellowship within our facilities and at church activities. Session has approved safety policies and procedures that guide the staff, members, and volunteers to exercise good judgment. The goal is to ensure that our church is a welcoming, safe, and secure place for all to gather and to encounter the risen Savior. We do this through the safety response team. We currently have 13 active members. They are vetted by church leadership. They all receive background checks, and I think you know most of them. They gained their operational approval from the session. They're supervised by the executive director, Jerry Hernblum, and they're led and managed by myself, the team coordinator. Our main focus is, number one, prevention, and also number two, to respond until the professionals arrive. We're essentially a stopgap between when an incident or emergency occurs to when the professionals arrive, an ambulance, fire department, law enforcement, and so forth. The team, and we train on this, has a thorough manual complete with the policies and procedures and training requirements that we go through. The team does regularly receive training, and it is financially supported by the church, which we very much appreciate. The team on various services are positioned strategically: children's area, sanctuary, lobby, and so forth. And we all communicate via radio. Others that augment the team and actually have a role in some of our emergency procedures are the tech team, children's workers, the welcome team as well, certainly the staff, and then we have folks that are professionals with special skills such as doctors, nurses, counselors, and so forth. Okay, so what should you do if we have an emergency? I'm going to talk about just a few specifics on some of these, but some of the potential emergencies are that we're trained to handle are the medical aspects, building evacuation, like a fire alarm, missing child, tornado warning, bomb threat, suspicious item, disruptive persons, and then certainly an active shooter situation. So when it comes to building evacuation, like a fire alarm, let's say, first thing I'm going to do, or a safety team member is going to do, is we're going to run up here and grab a microphone, okay? What we need you to do, and all of us to do, is three things: stay calm, stay quiet, and follow directions. And I don't mean to be condescending, but remember in elementary school, when the fire alarm went off, what did the teacher say? Now, line up at the door, stay quiet, and walk and follow directions. Again, and that's basically what we're going to do. I know it sounds simple, but when the alarm is going off, the heart rate will rise, and there will be a tendency to, I got to go, I got to do something. Well, if a fire alarm goes off, we may or we may not evacuate the building. It may be a false alarm. So what's going to happen, I'm going to grab, one of the team members is going to grab the microphone, and we're going to communicate via radio with our other people who are going to check the box, find out where the alarm is originating from, check it out, and radio back and say, no, somebody burnt the toast down in the kitchen. It's okay, okay? Or, yeah, we got smoke coming from the hallway down there. We're initiating a building evacuation of the children's department. You do the same, and then we'll tell you what to do. So we're gonna line up, we're gonna go to the exits. We're gonna go to the rally point, and the exits, how do you get there? Well, if you're in the balcony, you're gonna go to the center exit, center stairway, go down and exit to the north or the south door, staying in a single or maybe a double file. If we're in the sanctuary, you're not gonna go to the edges. We're all gonna go to the center by pew, starting at the back and out. Next pew, back. Next pew, out, until we get to the front. And that's, you know, nothing ever goes as planned, but that's the plan. Now, what about those folks that have mobility issues? People in wheelchairs or walkers and so forth. We've given this a lot of thought and debate, and I'm open to suggestions, but this is what I think we're going to do. They're just going to integrate with everybody else going out. And if they need help, help them, okay? Most of us come with those with a loved one or a caregiver with them, and that will help them. And then just if they're really slow, just carefully go around them, but stay orderly and go out. Now, having said that, someone that needs help, if someone is helping them, we don't need 6 people helping one person, because what that's going to do is that's going to jam everybody up, and that's going to be confusing enough. So that's the plan. When you get outside, the rally point is the north lawn where we set the tent up for the picnic, okay, right over there. Be aware of those difficult steps on the north exit. So if you have mobility issues or don't think, then you're going to exit the south one, okay? Those who exit the south doors, the main doors there, we're not going to go toward the street. We're going to make a right turn, go like you're going to the Hall of Faith, make another right turn, go down past the playground area and out there. So why don't we go out toward the street? Because when the fire alarm goes off, or we initiate a building evacuation for some other reason, calling 911, the fire department is coming, okay? We don't go to our vehicles and, oh, I'm leaving, you know, because we will inhibit their response. So we make a right turn right there like that. So I beat that to death. One other thing, this is difficult. Parents, you're gonna think, I'm going to get my kid. We just ask that you don't do that. And you can imagine what sort of problems that's gonna cause for the children's department. You know, where's Johnny? Well, they don't know that their parents came and grabbed him and took him out. So now you have a missing child and compare that too. You just have to trust the children's department is going to do the right thing and evacuate them on that. So the second thing I want to talk about quickly is the medical situation is something that is our most likely scenario, which we actually drill different medical scenarios in with our team. This is the first aid kit in the AED. It's out here on the north side, and we have others positioned at different places, Children's Department, Hall of Faith, and so forth. It also, and of course it's orange like that, we have an AED, an adult and a child AED. The team, the welcome team and staff are all trained to know how to use those things, and the first aid kit is well stocked with the most likely things that we need, okay? The medical, okay. The biggest medical problem that we've experienced, at least this last year and statistically, which we are following each incident and have a database now, is falls, okay? Some of this is attributed to our property, but some are not. So all I can do is just ask that you be careful and everything. These steps out here are a hazard, you know, the ramp and so forth there. But one thing I want to add there, if you need help or you know someone that needs help, we want to help you. Safety team, the welcome team are there. We're watching the parking lot. And, you know, please ask us for help. If you're in a handicapped place and you have trouble getting from your vehicle in, get out, wave your hands, I need help, or beep the horn. But just, you know, be aware of that. We want to help you. We don't want anybody to be hurt here. I'm zipping through this pretty quickly because I want to leave time for questions at the end. Where are we? Something that's difficult to talk about now, but I know that we all think about it, is an active shooter situation. That could occur any place. It could be in the parking lot, could be the lobby, it could be right here in the sanctuary. So what is, again, every situation is different. It's hard to even think about, but it happens, and we have to prepare for it. We have to train for it. Our procedure is we're gonna ask everybody, we're not gonna ask everybody, we're gonna yell, get down. Get as low as you can if that occurs, okay? Don't get up and run, because the safety team is going to attempt to isolate and eliminate the threat. So, and while that is occurring, if you're down low, that gives you the best chance of surviving that situation. Now, having said that, let me just emphasize one thing. That is our last resort. The last thing I want to do is have to draw my weapon and engage somebody. That is not what we spring to, you know. That's why I mentioned at the beginning, it's all about prevention. It's all about spotting a threat before the threat becomes active, okay? So just know that, you know, it's not going to be like Dodge City on Saturday night right away. But we do have to prepare for that. In any of emergencies, any that I mentioned before, again, think about staying calm. You're not going to be calm, but try to stay calm, stay quiet, and follow directions. Okay? All right. Finally, there's other ways you can help. Again, we've all heard it. If you see something, say something. Let's say you're coming into the parking lot and there's a couple people out checking vehicles, looking in that one, looking at that one, looking at they just don't look right. Say something. Say something to the safety team there like that. Are we going to go and confront them and get into a situation with them? No. We're going to call the police. Almost every situation, we're calling the police or we're calling 911. Again, we are a stopgap to react to an appropriate situation and get the professionals here, okay? Maybe you see someone come in and it's summertime and they're wearing a long trench coat and they just don't look right. Say something to somebody. Maybe you see a wandering child by themselves. Where's the pastor? He already did that this year. And like, hey, that kid all by himself, he's wandering around the park. Say something. So be assertive. Help people that need help. Coming in on Sunday morning or leaving, just help people or offer. Another way you can help is to join our team, especially those who have a background in safety or security. It's very welcomed. Talk to me with suggestions, input. I'd love to hear people's, hey, this is what we did at a different church and things like that, because it really helps us refine our policies and procedures and training. And finally, and most importantly, pray. Try to pray. Maybe every Sunday it becomes to your mind, I'm going to pray for the safety of our service today. And, that God answers prayer. So, all right, I went pretty fast, so I know you may have questions. So what are your questions? I know you have questions. Yes, Carol, hi. And also, we're going to have a breakout session if you want. I'm going to hang around here whenever, if you have very specific questions about our, hey, what do you do about this, policies and procedures. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Linda Schoon.
Hi, Linda.
And my question is, how are the people that aren't here going to get this information?
Well, I wish everybody was here. And maybe, I was thinking we can talk about this with leadership. Maybe at the end of a service sometime, we can do kind of like an evacuation drill or have a short talk. But that's a very good question, but that's not my purview there.
Yeah, it is going to be on the live stream. It's on our YouTube channel. I do know some of the people that are watching right now. But yeah, disseminating this information is really important. So we need to talk about it and figure it out. I have a question, Mike.
Yes, sir.
So we're evacuating, and the fire department is pulling up. But I want to run to my car. How should we handle that in the midst of an evacuation or some active emergency? What are our priorities as we're moving?
Well, depending on the situation, and most building evacuations, you don't have to hurry that much, but you need to keep moving. You can't be just going real slow. You need to keep moving. And we're not going to tackle people and say, you're not going to your car and tackle. But we solicit the help of the welcome team and the other team members on duty that day. One of them will go right to the doors there, and they will be telling me, don't go to your car, go to the rally point, turn right. Don't go to your car, turn right. So there will be ongoing instructions. That's the way we drill it, we practice it in our training and everything. But there's going to be some people that are going to go to their car.
Why not go to the car?
Because if you're traversing through a parking lot and emergency response personnel are responding, you could get run over. You could be hit. Also, you're in a heightened level of anxiety, and you could fall, or you could walk out in front of somebody. And if people are going to their vehicles and people are leaving with their vehicles, you could get hit. So that's one reason.
Mike?
And I'm not sure why you'd want to go to your car unless it was like a shooting incident or something like that. That's going to be difficult. But
If I can speak to that for just a second.
please.
Blue mic.
I'm on the blue. Mike very accurately said, we're a stopgap. We are not professional law enforcement. We are not professional medical response. We are here to manage a situation until the experts arrive. If people are going into their cars and leaving and all this other stuff, we are delaying the experts from getting in here and addressing the situation. And Mike has done a great job of overviewing, active shooter and everything else, but the high likelihood of an incident in here is a medical incident. And seconds matter. And so if you're trying to get out of the parking lot, or you're even in the parking lot and delaying that medical team by even seconds, we're potentially putting someone at risk. And so our job is to listen to Mike and his team and, to put it bluntly, get the heck out of the way. Let the professionals get in here and do what they need to do to address the situation.
Just know that it's not going to go smoothly. But I've seen a lot of emergency, nothing goes smoothly, but you have to fall back to a plan, otherwise it is complete chaos. Yes, Jenny? Suggestion?
Yeah, somebody asked about how everybody's going to know all this. You had beautiful slides. Why can't you print those? Put them out in the foyer for the people who don't know, and they can pick up a copy of it and have it. So they can read those instructions.
Of an emergency action plan that affects everybody, you're saying?
Yeah, and have it
Okay.
so people who don't watch it or you can
Yeah, like in our information center.
I'd love to have a copy of it so I know.
Okay.
I think a good action item for us is how do we communicate this to the congregation as widely as possible and effectively as possible. We need to answer that question together.
Right. And, this is not a secret document. If you want to see this, you want me to send it to you, I'd be glad to do it. Yeah. I forgot one thing when I was talking about, I hate to belabor the active shooter thing, but because the chances of that statistically are very, very, very low. However, it does happen, and we need to be trained for it. Now, I know that there may be some of you or some in our congregation that have a concealed handgun permit, and in their mind, they want to protect also. I would ask that they meet with me and the team on a breakout session or another. I'd like to know who you are, not only because it is important for you to know what our reaction procedures are, and it's good for us to know who you are. We don't want to mistake a responding congregate with that has a CHP with an assailant. Now we know everybody, but maybe they don't. So we need to collaborate a little bit together. Any other questions? Come on, I'm ready for some questions.
How about this? If you have more questions, come to Mike's breakout right after this. And I think that wraps us up. So I'm actually going to ask Ron to close us in prayer because I just want to hear Ron pray.
Careful what you ask for. How much time do we have? Okay.
Hours.
Let's pray. Father, we come to you and humbly ask you to just put your arms of protection around us, that emergencies are handled well and that nobody be hurt. Give us wisdom to know that we can't solve everything, and that we have people that have studied different emergency situations and are giving us good advice. And Father, on our building campaign, we really believe that you want us to reach more people, to grow, to be a disciple-making church that adds more disciples. And we want people to walk into this church and feel your love. We want people to see what we do to show your love, to have the right facility, to be proud of how we represent you. Be with everybody that is here today. Thank you, Lord, that they took this time off on a Saturday morning to be here. We ask that you would also help them share the information they've learned with their friends. Bring us back tomorrow morning when we have a time to worship you in song and to hear Pastor Dave's message. We love you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, everyone. Stick around if you want to ask more questions with Mike.
Going to be in the conference room.
Oh, conference room at the end of the hall.